continuing forward with Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, the first cases. Let's get some mystery caps on. It is early and I am still slightly on the tired side. But, nevertheless, we shall continue. So we had just finally figured out which one of the guest rooms was ours due to the mix-up and subsequent other things. Finally, I have found my chamber. Although the journey was longer than expected, the destination is really quite charming. I should make myself familiar and comfortable in my new surroundings. Thank you, Hercule. So now let us go around the room and click all the things. Look, I wonder if I would get a chance to catch up on my reading whilst I stay here. Oop, window. That's going to be important. The snow has limited the view from the window, but it certainly has a beauty of its own. Let's see. Do we got anything around here to click on? No plant, luggage, chair, fireplace. A roaring fire. I could stand and gaze into the flames for hours. Even for a detective like myself, finding this room was quite an arduous task. The house may hold more secrets than expected. Objective complete. Find your room. Yay! Barging right in, aren't you, Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, thank you for coming. I shall not take up too much more of your precious time.
Not at all, Detective. I had best not be away for too long. Madame would not be pleased when there is so much work to do.
Well, mademoiselle, if anyone was to ask, I required your urgent attention with a delicate matter. That should be enough to give you a moment's peace.
Thank you, Detective. I have heard whispers, but this town is full of busybodies. It's hard to know what is the truth and what is hot air from socialites trying to outdo one another.
I would not have thought you want to join in with such chatter.
I'm not, but it can be hard to ignore. I try to quash any talk of it in the house. But it's easier said than done. When the staff are together, it seems to be a competition to see who can dream up the most scandalous rumour.
That sounds kind of sus.
You are a loyal maid and friend. Mademoiselle Angeline is fortunate to have you.
It baffles me why they would target her in the first place. She has such a kind and pure soul. That may not be what you remember of Mademoiselle, but she has grown into a kind-hearted young lady.
I was wary of that when I arrived, but I myself can see a change in her, a maturity. And if it is as kind and pure as you have stated, she should not be troubled by the letter.
Letters, Detective. I have brought you the other.
Mademoiselle Van de Bosch. You do not know me, but I know you and your family very well. For years you have stood high on your pedestal, attending parties and living the lifestyle of the upper class, a life that you were born into, all the while hiding a sordid secret that would tarnish the Van de Bosch name forever. Once a respected family with morals and nobility, but now you rely on riches and jewelry to show your worth, a worth that is not deserved. Even residing in a home that was obtained under your lies, but not for long. For your secret to remain exactly that, take a small brown paper parcel, and filled with 5,000 francs, addressed to Monsieur Dupont, to Baribeur and Sons Cobblers, before sundown on Friday. If you do as I request, this will be the last you hear from me. You will be able to return to your life of stolen wealth and excess. If you refuse, be sure that the name Van de Bosch will be on the whisper of lips for years to come. Interesting.
I have tried to tell her not to think any more on them, but she fears that even a fabricated story could ruin the family name. She even frets at what it may do to her engagement.
I just noticed Hercule has red socks. That's kind of cool. I want red socks now.
I have met Monsieur Lemire, and I cannot see his love for Angeline diminishing at something so trivial. Merci for bringing this letter to me.
Mademoiselle Angeline worries so much about the family name, but from Mademoiselle Elizabeth's telling, she has nothing to worry about, at least from her own perspective. Perhaps the secret does not directly concern Angeline at all. She is merely the easy target. That is exactly what I am beginning to suspect.
Merci, mademoiselle.
I have my suspicions, but
Pleasure's
I will
mine.
allow Hercule to riddle them out and see if I am right or not. Let's see. Dear Blackmail, we have a connection to make.
Magnifique.
Could the blackmailer be more interested in the house than the money they have demanded? That's Elizabeth, that. There is another link somewhere that I can make. Let us see. Blackmailer wants the family to suffer.
This will not get me any closer to my...
Seems to say that. Let me see.
I must act on thought and fact. I must take a different approach if I...
I mean, that was a good thought. That if the blackmailer wanted the house, they were currently in the house, that would definitely throw suspicion on one particular person.
I cannot see the logic in this.
Oh.
What a revelation!
How was I supposed to see that? Staff members aware of the blackmail could possibly know the reasons why. It appears that the Vanderbush secret may not be a secret at all. The house staff may know what the blackmailer is holding over the family. Detective complete here. And investigate the blackmail has no links. And don't care about any of those, but we need to talk to Elizabeth
Of course,
again.
Detective. What is it? That is news to me, Detective.
The deeds to the house that have been left on the table. Perhaps I am jumping to a hasty assumption.
Oh no, Madame asked Archie to inquire in town about having the house registered as a landmark. It's a shame the snow is so thick. The gardens are quite wonderful in full bloom. Perhaps you will be able to walk them when the snow clears. She will no doubt be with Master Gideon. The party was just beginning when I came upstairs.
That is my cue to make a grand entrance. Am I presentable enough for the creme of society?
Quite handsome, Detective.
Merci. If you catch me snoring, please poke me in the ribs.
Indicating that the party's gonna be so boring.
I will use Madame's sharpest poker.
British banter! Ah.
It sounds as though someone else may have already been poked.
Chapter 2. The altercation. Oh boy. Just his face just boom. Let me just observe. The art style is so sim-like, it's hilarious.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you would be so kind to return to the party.
It seems the Major is not, welcome.
With all this excitement out here,
I believe that is an end to the excitement, as you put it, Monsieur Demire.
It is hardly the job of a detective to resolve domestic arguments, but under the circumstances, perhaps there's more to it. I shall speak with the Major outside.
Oh, thank God. One last match.
Bonjour, Monsieur Hagen.
I wondered when you would be arriving. At least now you can do your job.
Pardon, Monsieur.
I have just been assaulted. I want him arrested.
I am afraid it is not as simple as that. I merely witnessed you standing up from the ground. Just a little poke of just, oh, I didn't see it.
This is ridiculous. You know very well what he did.
Perhaps you could elaborate on what instigated the altercation.
I should have known you wouldn't make things easy.
Of course not. It is clear that the Major is outraged by what has just happened, but I must learn what caused this escalation to physical violence.
I have met Monsieur Demire. He does not seem one to physically assault someone unless provoked.
I hope you're not implying that I started it.
I am only stating what I have seen.
I was having a private conversation with Angeline when he interrupted and struck me. That is all there is to know.
There's more than that. If the Major is still the same man I met all those years ago, I'm sure he will remain defensive and the blame for the altercation will fall solely on Monsieur Demire. Perhaps the best approach would be to act as though I am on the Major's side and coax out the truth.
I would not act any other way. Well, unless I am provoked.
You have grown rather close with the Vandenbosch family, it seems.
What has my relationship with the family got to do with anything? Why are you even here, officer?
Detective. And I was invited by Mademoiselle Angeline personally.
Seems to be mistake after mistake with that girl. Of course I do. What a stupid question. He is scum. Him and his whole family. If I had my way, he wouldn't have even stepped foot in this house.
That's gonna get a bit obvious.
Officer Poirot, are you going to do something about him or
I
not?
like how he continues to refer to him as officer.
It is Detective Poirot. And if you refuse to answer my questions, I do not see how I can continue.
I just don't know what she sees in him. Angeline could do so much better.
Oh, like you.
I don't think she realizes what she is getting herself into. I can't imagine her living a happy life with that rogue.
I see. Merci, monsieur, for your honest opinion, whether I agree or not. I shall leave you to your cigar and return to the party.
I suspect much. It is not often such a violent altercation happens at a celebration such as this. I should investigate why it began. New map. This party is already filled with more drama than most, and it has barely begun. I was requested here to find the blackmailer, but perhaps the altercation is connected somehow. Pamphlet.
Huh.
Some information regarding a shelter for women coming from troubled homes and backgrounds. I'll obviously talk to him. Note on the wall.
Huh.
Staff rota for the evening. 4 people are assigned. Is enough staff to proceed with tonight's events? Archibald, Elizabeth, Ignine, Rihanna. Find out how the staff members may be linked to recent events. Aha. There is still no links. Piano again, as per the usual.
Oh.
I doubt any of these items have anything to do with the present case, but I shall check them all the same.
Ah.
In the era before televisions, a lot of people stared at dancing fire to help calm their minds. Okay, fine. Fine. I'll talk to Archibald. Seems to be
Monsieur
the most
Sterling,
direct.
I trust the preparations are progressing since our last meeting.
Please, Detective. Archibald is fine. Everything is in order now. Are you ready to join the party?
You are head butler of this house. It is a position that warrants respect, and I shall continue to give it, Monsieur Sterling.
Ah!
And I must admit, it is the smell from the kitchen that has my attention more than the party itself.
Rihanna is quite the cook, but it will still be some time. Maybe you'd like to enjoy a drink while you wait. Some of the guests are already in the salon to your left. And the remaining guests are in the library on the first floor.
I will be sure to explore both. Merci.
It is my responsibility to look after the house and staff,
Not
to
to-
resolve petty disputes.
I cannot imagine he will be in any mood to attend the party.
He often has a cigar to calm down, and if that doesn't relax him, that temperature outside surely will.
Completely uncaring.
Dinner will be served in the dining room, but the rest of the evening is yours to enjoy.
You have all certainly been working hard, it seems.
Very hard. The lady of the house wanted everything a certain way, and that's how it was to be done.
Merci. You have been most helpful.
Another new portion. It is time I met my fellow guests of the party. They all have a connection to the family in some respect, and although they are here to join the celebrations, perhaps one of them has a more sinister motive. Still no links. So I go to the salon. Curious that the salon has a large doorway and the dining room has a small doorway. It should be the other way around, personally. In my mind, it makes sense that it would be the other way around because you'd want a grand dining room. That's the pantry / kitchen. Staff quarters. I'm not going to be welcome either of those places. Maybe someone's in the pantry. Locked. No new bubbles, but no connections. Oh, library first one. Duh. See, it's that English British change that's throwing me off again. Hey, Baltimore. Oh, lovely. Unpleasant people. Half empty bottle. No glasses. You know he's going to end up playing the piano at some point.
Ah.
Newspaper.
Hmm.
Factory strike. Workers demanding fair treatment by Jacqueline Conrad. Not necessarily connected. Okay, the salon is connected directly to the dining room.
Allow me to introduce myself. Hercule Poirot.
Detective Hercule Poirot? I heard we were being joined by one of the king's finest officers.
Remember, this took place during the in-between period of the two world wars. This was pre-Elizabeth II, meaning Britain had a king at the time.
Oui, madame. I see my name precedes me.
Comtesse Margot de Vos. Charmed, I'm sure.
It is I who is charmed.
Handsome, well-mannered, and a man of the law. I did not expect such a fine caliber of gentleman at this party.
Oof.
Comtesse, your compliments are enough to make a young detective blush.
You will find Felix at the center of any trouble, especially when it concerns the ladies of the house.
I understand he has made himself quite at home here.
What an understatement. He thinks his friendship with Cassandra entitles him to anything and everything in the house, including certain opinions of how young Angeline lives her life.
He does not approve of Monsieur Demire?
You'd have to ask him, or rather speak with Gideon's brother. He will have something to say about Felix, I am sure.
As am I, which is why I talked to her first.
A strapping young man. Angeline has found herself a good one. They certainly make a handsome couple.
Speaking with them both, it is plain to see, even to one that is unexperienced in such emotions, that there is a great deal of love between them.
In this series, Hercule Poirot is a bachelor his entire life.
When they are together, it is obvious for all to see, even at such a young age. But who are we to judge what the heart wants? I have been a close friend to the Van den Bosch family for, well, heaven knows how long.
You must have known the late Viscount then.
Indeed, we had been friends since our school days. His passing was very hard on both Cassandra and young Angeline. I became a sort of protector of them both after his death. A guardian angel, if you will.
I have learned that friendship in these higher social circles can be nothing more than a facade to remain in that position. Perhaps the Comtesse is vying for Madame Van den Bosch's position.
I fill my time mostly with charity work. The number of those less fortunate only continues to grow.
It's true, especially during this time period.
How very admirable.
One must remain humble.
Heh.
Work with? I built it from the ground up, detective.
Ah, so that's where that
My
came from.
admiration continues to grow.
While my husband, the Honorable Count de Vos, is always busy with his duties, I found myself at rather a loose end. I could not bear wasting my days with no purpose. And one day, while shopping in the city, I noticed the abundance of young women living and begging on the streets. Dirty and hungry, without a franc to their name.
It is horrifying to think of how so many must live their lives while Others live a life of such selfish opulence.
I hope that was not a backhanded comment on the life I live, Detective.
Ah!
Far from it, Countess. You are using your wealth to better the lives of the less fortunate. It is commendable work you do.
So, fun fact, Comtesse, Comtesse, that is the French spelling for countess,
It is, isn't it?
wife of a count. The work that Comtesse is doing will go a long way to improve the lives of those who need it so badly. I only wish there were more in positions such as hers who could see the divide in our society and use their wealth to bring the plight to an end. Hello, Alan.
It has been a pleasure conversing. I look forward to our next tete-a-tete.
Let's see. Do we got any links out of this? Nope. We have not. Ah, there is a window. That will be important. Fallen snow has laid a beautiful white blanket over the countryside that surrounds the house. And now we come to the need to talk to two of the most unpleasant people in the house. Cassandra and Zakaria. Let's do this.
Madame Vandenbosch, congratulations are in order on your daughter's engagement.
Thank you. And you are?
Detective Poirot.
I'm sorry, the name eludes
She doesn't remember! That day at the Vandenbosch house has stayed with me. It opened my eyes to the unjust treatment of the working class and has been a driving force in becoming the detective I am today. And yet, I have barely been a second thought to her.
Once Officer Poirot, I investigated your daughter's missing bracelet.
Oh, it's you. There is no missing jewelry here today, so we are really not in need of your services.
I am here on a rather more pressing...
I know why you are here, officer, detective, whatever you are now. Please, just get on with it.
detective, and I promise not to keep you too long.
And then it gives me a huge list of things. I understand that the Major is not fond of Angeline's husband-to-be.
You can make whatever assumptions you wish.
Based on several accounts, it seems as though the Major has a certain level of disdain for him and his brother.
Felix is merely protecting both my daughter and the Vandenbosch name.
Protecting them from what exactly?
That is a question best asked to them.
You must be elated at the news of Mademoiselle Angeline's engagement.
Gideon is a fine, educated young man from a well-respected family.
And yet not enough for her to side with him against the Major.
All important when considering a new son-in-law.
A good home and education speaks volumes about a man. Even in the short time they have been engaged, his noble character is obvious. If you were an educated man, you would know that.
I can assure you, madame, my education is not one to be sneered at.
And yet you remain a mere detective. Perhaps it is your choices, then, that are to be questioned.
Literally the worst person so far in the game. I understand the altercation earlier began with an argument between the Major and Mademoiselle Angeline.
Angeline is her own woman now. She can fight her own battles. She does not need her husband to be stepping in.
And what battles would they be?
Nothing that concerns you, detective.
I'm not sure what I expected asking Madame Vandenbosch about private matters.
Keep your volume down. She had no right to do such a thing. As soon as the other ladies get wind that there was a police officer in house, the whole town will know.
Perhaps you should be more focused on catching the blackmailer that is holding your family's name to ransom than what the chattering women of the town will say.
more about what those chattering women, as you so rudely describe them, have to say than the empty threat of an anonymous letter.
Your daughter does not agree. In fact, it has been suggested that one of tonight's guests may know more than they are willing to show.
The guests? You mean our friends? You can't honestly believe one of them would be so petty to send a letter like that. Oh, officer, you have not changed. Locked? That is absurd. They should be constantly coming back and forth from there if they are hiding from their work again. What is it you want in my staff area anyway?
I only mention it as I was hoping to speak to some staff members. But if they are busy,
Be a good fellow and make sure they aren't slacking off in there. It shan't take you long.
It may not have been the permission I was expecting, but I shall take it nonetheless. I shall try the pantry again.
I suppose it is only polite to say you're welcome.
Madame is as quick-witted as I remember.
What a shame there is nothing as memorable about you but your lack of respect.
I should have known getting into a verbal battle with Madame would not be easily won.
What do you mean, protecting? She hasn't gone and paid that silly ransom, has she?
It was Monsieur Demir that accepted the cost. He paid it because your daughter believes there may be something to hide.
For heaven's sake, why do you think it was addressed to her and not I in the first place? Because they knew I would throw it in the rubbish where it belongs.
Rubbish.
Madame, if there is something you are keeping, it would be wise to tell me now. It may help in identifying the culprit.
And it would be wise for you to stay out of my family's business. If I require your help, I shall ask for it. But don't hold your breath.
Merci. An enchanting conversation, as always.
And by enchanting, we mean anything but. Do we have links from that? Wow, still no links after talking to 3 different people. Okay, Zakaria, let's do
Monsieur
this.
Demir, we meet again.
Did I tell you? Call me Zach. You found your room all right then?
I did, and a charming room it is.
I don't know if I would call mine charming, but if I drink enough, it won't matter. That's okay. At least you actually care. Not like most of the others here. I'm the groom-to-be's older, more handsome brother.
And completely humble to boot.
Oui. I see the resemblance now. How wonderful that you can celebrate this occasion together.
I'll stop you there. The only wonderful thing about this celebration is the free food and drink.
You are not pleased for your brother.
Angeline seems nice enough, but marriage is not for me. What
Gee,
gain
what
from
a
tying
shock.
to someone for the rest of your life? Besides the money.
What a shock!
Recently, not a great deal. Well, except for enjoying myself. I was once a field medic in the military. But those days are over.
Interesting.
A noble occupation. Did you not want to make it your career?
It wasn't my decision to make. I certainly don't miss the battlefield, that's for sure.
So he has medical knowledge. That could be important later.
I'm sure he's fine. You don't need to worry about him. Always the knight in shining armor.
Heh,
Riding
you
in
in
to
armor.
save the day.
British spelling.
Saving the day from who, exactly?
Well, if Gedeon is the knight in the fairy tale, Felix is the dragon. Felix the Major. Ha! Always there, thinking he is better. Just because he was a major. We all know how he got there. In his mind, that puts him at the top of the chain.
It seems there is some hostility between Monsieur Demure and the Major, an animosity that does not come from one evening at a party.
The major pain in the ass.
Ah!
Why should I? It doesn't take a detective to work out the sort of man he really is. You must have seen it, right?
I have my own history with the Major, but that is a story best not told.
I think it's a story best told now. It can't be any worse than what he did to us during the war.
You fought together in the war?
We were on opposing sides.
Oof. I have stumbled upon a delicate subject. It may be best to avoid it altogether.
The subject of war is a difficult topic for everyone. Perhaps it is best to discuss something else.
If you had seen what I have, what he has done, you wouldn't side with him.
I am taking no sides, monsieur. It is just not conversation fit for a party. Perhaps it is best I take my leave.
Oof. Oh. That explains a lot. Do I finally get some links? Oh my gosh, that opened up some links. Let's grab this one first. So let's see. Well,
The pieces
obviously.
of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I cannot even fathom drinking that much alcohol, especially in one evening. It wants me to talk to him again. Okay.
Another success.
Haha.
I never doubted myself.
Monsieur Gideon could be marrying into the family purely for financial gain. We have one. Brothers have a history with the Major. Nope. Oh. There we go.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
I wouldn't say it to his face, but I don't think it's the Major's place to cast judgment on Gideon. There we go. And now I have to go right back in and talk to that guy, to the drunk guy again. Being in the room with these two is very, very much a headache.
I have a drink, but thanks anyway.
I just would not like to see things get out of hand.
Don't you worry about me. I've got it covered.
Something tells me his excessive drinking is not in celebration of his Viez engagement, that means brothers. His recollection of war makes me think it may be something more serious.
Perhaps it is...
Did I just unlock another link? No? No. Yeah, there's definitely some history between Zakaria and the Major that is going on behind the scenes. But for now, I can jump over to here and check the pantry again to talk to some of the staff. Haha! Unlocked. I must have caught a staff member at the right time. Pots and pens.
Oh.
Nope. Just a quick once-over of the room. Cupboard. Nothing of interest. I bet you there'll be something there later, though. Papers that order the dismissal of a staff member for accessing rooms without permission. Ooh. Dear Miss Allard, your position as housemaid within the Van den Bosch residence is hereby officially terminated with immediate effect for the following reasons. Accessing forbidden areas of the house. refusal to make a sincere apology. Emotional distress brought to the family. A reference shall be offered pending future employment. Sincerely, Madame Van de Bosch. Horrible woman. A photo showing 7 members of staff. The house would surely run like clockwork with so many. So we have 1. We have 2. We have 3. One of the others, I'm not sure which one is Ingrid. I think this one. Which means we are missing 1, 2, 3, 4 members of the staff. And we know one of these 2 ladies were fired recently. Which means there are 3 unaccounted members of staff. We should ask... Wait, first? Any connections from... Yes. Staff photo and the staff rota.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduct.
It appears there are a number of staff missing, based on photo and rota. Why could this be? So now we can do insufficient staff.
Is there something I am not?
Oops. Yes. There we go.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
The missing staff were in fact for leave of duties, aka fired. We need to talk to Cassandra and Ignine and Archibald, and I still... Recent staff layoffs, probably family taking care of
Some would
money.
say a lucky guess. I would.
With the family being more cautious with their money, staff would let go for that reason. There we go. Now I have 3 things to talk to people about. And no other things were unlocked. So now that I have an extra conversation topic with
Bonjour, mademoiselle.
this person,
Oh, monsieur, you startled me.
Igni,
It was not my intention, mademoiselle. I was hoping
I
to
can be
talk
able to
with a
pursue
member
it.
of the staff.
You are the detective?
I am Detective Hercule Poirot. I only intend to take up a moment
the
of your
H
time.
is silent in EQ.
Madame Van der Bosch will be very hungry if she knows I'm standing talking.
Allow me to worry about madame.
Inga Frank, detective.
Inge.
From the Norse god of peace and fertility. A most beautiful name.
Merci. It was my grand-mère.
Grandmothers.
Oui, detective. Madame was very clear on what was to be prepared for today.
She is French.
Well, everything looks exquisite. But if I may be blunt, would you not benefit from some more hands?
Monsieur Archie knows how busy we are, especially in the kitchen. I hate when I have to run service. That is not for me to talk about, detective. If Monsieur Archie found out I had said anything out of turn...
She is terrified for her job.
I am not asking you to betray your fellow staff or the family. What is said between us remains that way, mademoiselle.
It's only whispers, but the last servant was caught in areas of the house they shouldn't be. Apparently, they saw something they shouldn't have. Please, detective, if...
My lips are sealed, mademoiselle. Merci, mademoiselle. I shall leave you to your work.
Yeah, nothing that we didn't already know so far. But I can double back and talk to Archibald, and then I can double back and have another wonderful conversation with Madame Van de Bosch before heading upstairs into the library.
What can I do for you? What have they done? If I have to...
No, monsieur. There is not a complaint to be made. It is more the recent layoffs and extra work pressure you all seem to be under I am inquiring about.
We've had to let some of them go. Let's just say their standards didn't live up to what was expected.
Not exactly what the termination paper stated.
Merci. You have been most helpful.
believe we should have a new link.
Order and method. That is the way to. Come, my little grey cells.
Heh. I know there is one in here. Archibald claims unsatisfactory work. Oh,
Things are beginning to become clearer.
there's a contradiction here. The paperwork conflicts with Archibald's account. Only one can be telling the truth. Archibald is hiding something. Which, as head butler, makes sense. Now we have to have another lovely conversation with the woman of the house, Madame Van de Bosch. Excuse me, the lady of the house. Although she does not
Let's
deserve
make
that
this
title.
quick, Detective. The public rooms are not adequate space for you to celebrate my daughter's engagement.
Madame, I asked only the limits, as I understand a member of the staff was let go for a similar reason.
It would benefit you not to listen to whispers and rumors, officer. They did not produce a satisfactory standard of work. There is nothing more to say.
It is detective, Madame. And it is just that the termination papers detail the matter and proceed to.
Need I remind you again whose house you reside in?
Need I remind you again? Maybe.
Merci.
That kind of behavior, thankfully, would never be tolerated. She is literally the ultimate Karen of her time. Oof. Dismissal of forbidden areas.
Another success. I never doubted myself.
There's no doubt there must be a family secret. Can forbidden house areas hold the answer? There's something that does not feel right about the staff dismissals. The contradicting story of why only make me question its virility, its truthfulness, further. Interesting. I believe the staff know the truth behind the dismissals. They know the family has a secret. And now the rest of my answers will be found upstairs in the library. Ah! There we go. Upstairs we go. I guarantee you the library is that one. As foreseen. Don't mind me as I continue to shift around to find a comfortable position to sit in.
You're barking up the wrong tree. I'm not a reporter.
That's an American accent.
But you're going to want to hear this. You could interview me now.
And why would I want to spend my evening doing that?
The world needs to know. You want to sell papers, I want the truth to be known. Win-win.
I came here to enjoy myself, not to hear a second string version of...
I was there. I saw the whole thing, including who was ruining the show.
All right, I'll bite. Let's talk later.
Interesting. But first, explore the room.
Ah,
Looks like the happy couple are planning the honeymoon, but are undecided on their destination. So many countries and cultures to experience. I hope one day to see them all with my own eyes. I once felt that way.
oh.
I could spend every waking moment reading about the adventures of the characters in these books. There are enough mysteries in this house without being distracted by a fictional one. Perhaps the happy couple's engagement has someone in a particularly romantic mood. It must be from the library. I wonder if this story would match the excitement of this weekend. Just mandatory to look at the fireplace every time.
Huh.
If I had a love of my own to declare, it would surely take inspiration from them. Suspense and tension. Two ways authors keep the readers hooked on their characters' stories. It's true. As a writer, I agree with this. I have often found myself thinking on the prospect of traveling, perhaps one day. Gazing at the stars is truly one of life's simple pleasures. The fallen snow has laid a beautiful white blanket over the countryside that surrounds the house. Madame must have a great interest in religious saints to have such material of them. Quite valuable and delicate. I shall resist the temptation to inspect it any further. Hit achievement. Well read. Looked at all the books.
Oh.
New bubbles, but new connections? No. Didn't think so. Now, who to speak to first? Ernesto, Hugo, or Jackie? Ernesto.
Bonjour. Are you a guest of Mademoiselle Angeline or Monsieur Demire?
Do I know you?
Where are my manners? I am Hercule Poirot.
The lawman.
Oui, monsieur. Detective Poirot. And you are?
Ernesto da Silva.
A pleasure, monsieur.
I'm a man of business.
Oh, how specific.
I see. Is there a particular area of business that is your focus?
Overseas investments, international relations. I also own a number of factories in the city.
A man of few words. This may become more like drawing blood from a stone than a back and forth conversation.
Très bien. Monsieur has many talents.
We work together as partners, yes.
You must know the Van den Bosch family well, then.
I help Cassandra, rather, Madame Van den Bosch, if and when she needs me.
Interesting. Closer than willing to say. I caught that as well.
I did. But frankly, I have no time for childish school fights.
You are not aware of the circumstances that started it, then?
I heard something about a cigar. Only Felix would be petty enough to get riled up by something so menial.
A cigar?
Yes, Monsieur Demire had one of Felix's precious cigars. If you ask me, they won't be the real thing anyway.
Ah! Because it's cheap.
Distinguished gentleman. It was two alpha males going head to head. Master Gideon came out the victor.
Yeah.
Surely we have passed the days where shows of unnecessary brute strength impress anyone.
When it comes to the protection of a woman, we are far from it. Man will always return to their most primitive form.
Mademoiselle Angeline, the Major has no place to feel threatened. Monsieur Gideon is to become her husband.
And he has spent the last however many years supporting them, as he calls it, clutching on to whatever he can.
Merci for your time. It has been most intriguing.
Got one there, and two there. Right
the pieces
there.
of the puzzle are finally.
I'm
coming
starting to
together.
notice that the links are always going to be two really close ones. But the Major really started a physical fight over Gideon stealing a cigar, though. And talk to Zakaria. Next. Ernesto is fond of Cassandra.
I must take a different approach if
Yeah,
I
I
am
don't
to.
think so. Maybe?
Magnifique.
Aha! There is only so much help you can receive before you are simply relying on someone. What do the families need assistance with? Well, obviously money.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
It appeared, for a moment at least, the family had organized their financial situation, but that is most certainly not the case. Oh, lovely, and it's telling me to talk to Cassandra again. Let's see.
I must act on thought.
Yeah, I thought that was...
I cannot see the logic in this.
Doubt it's anything to do with that. Pressing. No. Not certain.
Come, my little grey cells. What a revelation!
No, that's something we knew about already. It's clear that the Major is close to the family and has some connections with both Cassandra. We already knew this. Talk to those two. Sometimes some of the information's a little on the basic side. I shall speak to Jackie first. Not because she's closer, but because she'll have a different
A pleasure
view
to make your
before
acquaintance.
diving into what Hugo has to say.
Likewise. You're not from around here, are you?
My name is Hercule Poirot. I am a friend of Mademoiselle, soon to be Madame, Angeline.
I see. Jacqueline Conrad. No doubt you've heard the name before.
I am rather embarrassed to say I have not, Madame.
No need for the madame. I'm not married. Just call me Jackie.
Madame in the French is like saying Mrs., whereas Mademoiselle is like saying Miss.
Oui, Jackie.
Completely out of character for him to desire to call anyone simply by their first name, because matters of respect. Respect is a big thing in basically societies outside the United States, to be honest. Curious.
Here's the thing. I'm one of those people you want to know, and not be on the wrong side of.
Perhaps it would be wise for me to remain on your good side.
It's the best place to be. You wouldn't believe what a couple of positive stories can do for a family name, or a career.
That was a subtle threat.
And that is what you have done for the Van den Bosch family?
A little help goes a long way, and from what I have seen, the ladies deserve some positive support. I heard, and it doesn't surprise me. There will always be someone trying to get something out of someone else.
That's true.
People are only out to help themselves.
Not 100% true.
That is a rather pessimistic way of thinking.
But it's the truth.
Not
And in my
100%.
experience, more often than not, it's someone the victim knows, and knows pretty well.
You make me question those I consider friends.
And maybe you should. If you have something you don't want the world knowing, just keep it to yourself.
That is a very, very true principle. It may be the nature of her work, but she lacks any sense of compassion for those who may fall victim to such betrayal.
That's what we call eavesdropping.
Pardon. I didn't mean to pry.
And with respect, I don't think it's really any of your business.
Certainly not what I was expecting. Mademoiselle Conrad is a force of her own. I shall have to play my cards right with her.
I must take my leave.
Let's see. Nothing. Nothing. Ah, new link here. Which is probably Blackmail Theory.
This will not get me any...
Nope. Nope. See, it makes me think it wants to go like this,
Is there
but that doesn't make
something
any sense. The only other option is this. but
Order
that's-
and method.
doesn't make any
That
sense.
is the...
Yeah, that's more
Magnifique.
logical. There is a chance the Major is involved in the blackmail somehow. What is the extent of his possible involvement? Well, I would honestly say that this can connect here as well, and this can connect here as well, meaning suspicion falls on these three. By over who could, in the event of that theory being correct. Well, if you won't tell me, perhaps
Allow me
Hugo
to
will.
introduce myself. Hercule Poirot.
Hugo Beckers. A pleasure.
I hope I am not disturbing you. I often find myself at a loose end at parties such as these.
I've never been referred to as a loose end before, but it is always good to make a new acquaintance. There is no better way to understand one's purpose in life. I stand up for the workers that cannot do it themselves.
I was a union rep.
You work with a union?
Union leader, well, that is my formal title. But I see myself as more than just that. So much more. I am the face of the
Communist.
people. A voice
What?
in the void when there is none.
This is indeed the period where communism was on the rise.
Very spirited. You have quite the way with words.
In my line of work, it is essential. Some fight with their fists, but I believe words are the ultimate weapon.
They can be.
I have been working with Gideon for quite some time. We are doing great things together. Great things.
Ah.
I was not aware he was part of the union.
Well, he's not exactly. But he is an ally in the battle we face. Without his support, our uphill struggle would surely be a climb. Hopefully my talks with De Silva will help him see the light. I don't know what you think you heard, but it was a private matter and I appreciate if you kept it to yourself.
I can assure you, Monsieur Beckers, your conversation is exactly that. Yours.
Then maybe we should just leave it there.
There is something more to the conversation. If there is nothing to hide, why are both parties so hesitant to elaborate? Perhaps now is not the time to press on it.
Merci. If I find myself at a loss again, I shall certainly return.
Let's see. We got one more in guests, which I... Yep, right there.
Things are beginning to be...
I should revisit this argument. Something does not feel right about their joint secrecy. Good. Nothing there. Oh, actually, if I go back in, I can now see I need to talk to Zakaria and Mokritz, Cassandra, and Archibald, which means I need to go back downstairs. Again. And basically talk to everybody downstairs. Oh my gosh. Wow, it's been an hour already. I feel like we've done next to nothing. And Archibald is gone. I'm going to check this painting.
Huh.
Perhaps he's in the butler's pantry. I shall check this room first. He is not. Meaning there's only one room he could possibly be in that I am able to go and speak with him. At least on this floor. To the salon. Which is basically a sitting room. He is not present. There he is. Just poke all those to get rid of the light bulb exclamation point. I need to talk to all three of these people. And Archibald, if I can find him.
Fire
Which,
away, detective. Gedeon said they were the majors, but I didn't think he would miss just one.
Ah, it was you that took the cigar.
Me?
Don't mind me as I indulge myself on a second soda.
Okay, detective, you twisted my arm. It was me. But I didn't even get a chance to smoke it. Gideon snatched it out of my hand. I'm sure he could afford to replace it.
And the major saw Mr. Gideon holding the cigar, assuming he had taken it. It was all a misunderstanding, so why the following altercation?
Perhaps it is best.
I guarantee... Oh, wow. No connections from that. Huh.
I am all yours, detective.
Oh, my.
He would say that. I mean, financially, yes.
What else does the man
What
have?
else does that man have to offer?
I cannot imagine Madame Vandenbosch would be one to request financial help.
After Edwin, the Viscount, died, the family was left in a rather unfavorable position.
A Viscount and a regular count are two different ranks of nobility. Begging.
I see.
Let's just keep that between us. It's a rather sore
I like how
subject for
she's
her.
very open to talk to us. She's very helpful, and that leans the likelihood of it being her away, but at the same time, it could be a ploy. Hey, Zanmar! It didn't take much for the Comtesse to reveal private matters of the Madame's business. I'm not so sure I would be willing to divulge any information to her. Just doing some detective work with Monsieur Hercule Poirot, the detective I mentioned before yesterday.
You are quite inquisitive, aren't you?
Yes, I am quite inquisitive. It's part of my nature.
I believe it is called small talk.
Something I do not excel at.
There is small talk, and there is prying.
Ah. Yes, I think I've seen some adverts about that on Steam.
I assure you that is not my intention.
Monsieur.
please. I know a nosy gossip hound when I see one. We can smell our own.
Ha! She just
The
made me
Major
one.
isn't worth a minute of your time, though.
You are not a fan of his.
I'd hit him with my fan, monsieur. Any man that can treat a lady the way he does doesn't deserve to be in his position.
And what position is that, may I ask?
Lording over Cassandra like she's the help. He shouts at her like she's a stray cat that's wandered into the house. Madness.
It is something I never thought I would hear. Madame was ready to physically escort me out of the house when I arrived to investigate Mademoiselle's missing bracelet, and yet she allows the Major to get away with murder. In fact, figuratively, there must be a reason as to why she would be accepting of such behavior.
It has been a pleasure conversing. I look forward to our next tete-a-tete.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I do that occasionally. Especially if the streams are interconnected, like 2 or 3 people playing the same game, the same session. Ah, we got a new connection. I suspect... Yep, right there. Boom.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
I cannot tell if her dislike for the Major comes from genuine place or merely jealousy. Yet, sometimes it's fun to just be able to jump between different things. There is no new connections here. Which means we're going to have another lovely conversation with Cassandra Van den Bosch.
Let's make this quick, Detective.
Horrid woman. You do not seem surprised at Monsieur Demure's payment of the blackmail.
Why would I? He is to be Angeline's new husband and my new son-in-law. If he is taking that position seriously, he will do what he must to keep his new family happy.
And to you that means paying ransom money?
It means doing what he must to protect his wife and his family name.
Ah, so that means there is something that needs protecting.
I see you have still not learned any sense of tact or subtlety.
I see no reason to beat around the bush, madame.
Until you are pricked by a thorn.
And until that day, I shall continue with the method that best serves me.
Ah!
Now, Monsieur de Silva.
Oh, the verbal jousting. I love it. This is why I completely binged the entire BBC dramatization of all of the Poirot stories, because his wit and humor just absolutely slays me.
Yes, he has provided some financial support when it has been required. I assume that was the answer you were looking for.
Merci. An enchanting conversation, as always.
Nope. That gave me nothing. I need to speak to Archibald and Ernesto. Unfortunately, I do not know where Archibald is, for he has disappeared. Come on. Thank you. Aha!
Van den Bosch residence, how may I help you? Yes, of course. Please hold for one moment. Sir? Yes, a call for you. Shall I direct it straight through to you in the study now? Very good, sir.
Mysterious call. And Archibald is back, so I can talk to him now before heading upstairs again.
What can I do for you? Yes, he has been here for some time now.
He's tired of it.
Lady Van den Bosch has been very good to let him stay so long.
Would you say he has become
You
part
can
of
tell
the
from the
family?
tone of his voice that he is not happy about it.
He's always been very vocal about how he stands the ladies in high regards, and so he should.
Merci. You have been
Most helpful in saying nothing and yet saying everything. New tip about that. Major views the family as high class and differing
Another
status
success.
between
I never doubted
the
myself.
brothers.
I should not be surprised
Ha-ha!
by my own skills of deduction.
It is clear the Major does not want to see the Demir brothers in a good light. What does his thoughts toward them having to do with the couple's relationship? And there is yet another.
Order and method. That it.
Nope. Thinks they're bad for the family.
Is there something?
Oh.
What a revelation!
The Major clearly doesn't want the wedding to go ahead. Mr. Gideon's reason for punching the Major was perhaps valid after learning of the reason he is against the wedding. Yep. Yay! Objective complete. We now know the exact reason for that small incident. And now we will return to the overarching mystery. We need to go upstairs and speak to Mr. De Silva. Once more. In the library. With the candlestick. I mean, what? Ernesto De Silva.
Is there something else you need? It seems someone has been asking around about me.
Only polite curiosity, I can assure you.
Well, you would be right. Although working with the Viscount caused me much less grief.
Grief, monsieur.
Let's just say we didn't always see eye to eye. And if neither side is prepared to back down, there is a problem.
So he benefited from the Viscount disappearing, or in this case, dying. Ah.
Merci for your time. It has been most intriguing.
I thought it was only Madame Van de Bosch that was so concerned with her appearance to others. Perhaps the Major was of a similar mindset, although I am still not sure how it fits into the family dynamic. Objective complete. Meet and uncover the connections of all the others. Which then means, because I have everything except for more information on the blackmail. There's nothing here, so I presume this is the point when they will call for dinner. Perhaps. Yeah. There it is. Talk to Archibald. Yep, I suspect progressing to the next.
For you? Ah, perfect timing. I was about to ask that everyone move through to the dining room.
Move through the term because normally you have guests wait in the salon, the large door, and they literally move through the connecting door from the salon directly to the dining room.
Très bien.
So that's what it usually means to move through, because you're not coming out and around, you're literally going through one room to the other. That's right, I watched Downton
Yes,
Abbey.
Maman.
I thoroughly
Perhaps
enjoyed it.
I would love to see my beloved's homeland.
I'm sure we will decide on somewhere. Perhaps where we are both yet to have visited.
It was my crowning achievement.
Different
I am not
conversations
so
across
sure
the table.
workers would agree.
Are you sure? I've definitely seen your face somewhere before.
I do not believe there is another that resembles these features, or brains, at least.
I've always liked the idea of sailing the West Indies.
In that heat? With your complexion?
Okay, but you lived in the capital at one time.
Oui, mademoiselle. I spent much of my working life
Side
there.
conversations.
Maybe sleeping off half a bottle of whiskey.
Let us not be so blasé with our opinions, brother.
Ah, the
If
Major
you
is
ask
not
me,
present.
I don't believe anyone did.
And the door opens and the Major returns.
You're that officer! The shootout on the rooftop! Your face was all over our front page!
It seems it is not only I that possesses great skills of deduction. You...
Please, come quick! The Major has been murdered in his study!
Monsieur et Madame, I am Detective Hercule Poirot of the Belgian Police Force. I ask that you all remain calm and in your seats. I shall begin my investigation immediately. Monsieur Sterling, please, lead the way.
And now we have added in the delightful concept of murder. Not that anyone's going to miss the Major. Let's be honest, he was a cad. But murder is not acceptable. A noticeable, almost sinister chill can be felt upon entering.
This is Mr. Hagen's study, Detective. Would you like me to stay?
I understand if you are not comfortable with such a scene.
No, I don't have any of those types of commands set up just yet. Still relatively new to a lot of stuff on Twitch and OBS with that.
Don't you worry, Detective. I've seen much worse in my years.
I am thankful to have someone of your resilience by my side.
I just can't believe someone could have killed him in cold blood. Is that what you think happened?
I admire your faith in your fellow man, but you will be surprised what someone will do when they feel there is no other option.
Yeah, you probably were able to have more experience with people that were working with it. I've kind of had to build a lot of my stuff from the ground up on figuring stuff out bit by bit on my own. Yeah, I haven't interacted with a whole lot of streamers that were larger than me. The majority of people that I had are actually my size or smaller, and so they're at the same relative level. Let's see. Did any of the staff members have access to this office?
Mr. Hagen does not allow any staff into the study, and they were all present in the staff quarters, or part of the dinner service.
And everyone was accounted for?
Everyone. It is my business to know all my staff's whereabouts.
Tell me about the phone call the Major received.
Phone call? Yeah. It was one of his business associates.
Do you know what associate?
He didn't say. I think he was French. The accent still confuses me sometimes.
And did the Major sound any different to you? Panicked, anxious, anything out of the ordinary?
Not that I noticed. I think he was embarrassed about ending up on the floor after Master Gideon's one punch.
One punch! Sorry, I had to.
Your help and discretion in this matter are greatly appreciated.
Alright. Now we shall observe the room as a whole and look at everything except the obvious. The window's open, but we can't investigate that just yet. I think the game's going to force me to do the exact opposite of what I desire to do. It's going to make me examine his body first.
Oh.
A stab wound. Bruising around the face, which naturally could be explained by the punch he received earlier. What punch? So mandatory. Yep, a result of the confrontation with Monsieur Demure. Although only one punch was thrown, there is substantial bruising to the face. I'm going to use all my detective skills and experience here. Besides the stab wound, there is little to go on from his body. New mind map. Murder. I was brought here to find the blackmailer, but discovering the truth behind the Major's death must take precedence. Oh. There was some squashy right there. Check the safe. Which I doubt anything was stolen. Bulky safe made with security in mind. It is locked tight, but a box of valuables sits on top. The forehead is twisted. Dent in the plaster. Surprising that it has been left visible. Surely it would be a quick and easy fix. Unless it was recent. Books knocked on the floor, meaning he was probably standing here. I suspect he was thrown forward, smashing his already punched face into the wall before or after being stabbed. That is my suspicion so far. Obviously, the open window. Aha, the wallet.
Aha.
Nothing has been obviously taken, meaning it was not a robbery gone wrong, which makes sense. The window. An ice bucket. Challenge. What? That is not minute amount of water. That was minute. Small amount. What could have caused such a large damp patch on the floor? Water from the bucket, perhaps? Is there anything I have overlooked? Aha! A letter in the chair. A note is stuffed down the side of the seat. You do not know me, but I know you and your past very well. Years have passed and your actions remain hidden to the world, actions that would shame even the evilest of men. The details so heinous, to include them would surely bring a tear to my eye. Now is the time for the truth to be revealed to all. While not one man is to blame for the final outcome, it was you that brought about the final piece to the puzzle, the one that no one else would. If you wish to remain a free man, fill a brown paper parcel with 5,000 francs addressed to Monsieur Dupont, to Barbara and Sons Cobbler, before closing this coming Wednesday. While there is time to consider your next move, I would not ponder on it for too long. When the world knows of your crimes, they will surely not ponder long on your punishment. This mirrors the first ransom note that brought us here in the first place for blackmail. This entire second paragraph is almost verbatim the same, except instead of Tuesday, it says Wednesday. And obviously, the intro about remaining a free man. Another blackmail letter, written in the same manner as the one addressed to Mademoiselle Angeline. Could the Major be hiding a secret of his own, or is he in fact the author of the letters? Am I missing anything else? Save, dent, plaster. Open window. Ice bucket. Puddle. Blackmail letter. There's nothing to talk about Archibald with. So I have 2 connections for the Major. Wow. Damp floor, many ice
pieces
cubes.
of the puzzle are finally coming together.
Someone knocked over the bucket and then repositioned it. Someone besides the Major, perhaps? There are 2 again.
I must act on thought.
Nope.
Another success.
It was not
I
a
never
robbery.
doubted myself.
Obvious items of value have not been taken. Why would the killer not take a reward? There is still 2 more.
Come, my little grey cells.
Nope.
We must think logically.
That was weird.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
If someone had gone to the lengths of scaling the wall, they surely would have taken some valuables. Not a simple burglary. Yes.
I cannot see the logic in this. I must take a different approach if I am to uncover.
Nope. Let's see. No, that one existed before, so it can't be one that's tied to the one that already existed.
This will not get me any closer.
The bucket was overturned unprepared.
I should
don't,
not be surprised by my
I
own
don't see
skills
how
of
that
deduction.
connected. There are signs that something occurred in the study between the major and yeah, duh. Evidence of a fight. There are no more connections. Although I would say evidence of a fight, purple bruise on face. Possibly. I can confirm that the window was not the intruder's point of entry. Careless of me not to check the door first upon arrival. Door to the major's bedroom.
Aha.
No signs of forced entry or tampering. Could they have just knocked him and allowed to enter? Where?
Is there something I must act on thought and... I must take a different
didn't think
approach.
so. Again, I don't see how those connect.
Magnifique.
It doesn't. Fight broke out sometime after the killer entered the room unobstructed. Objective complete. Determine what happened prior to the murder. Now speak to Archibald.
Anything I can do to help, Detective? Rehana brought him some ice for his cheek earlier.
That's where that came from.
And when was that?
When he returned from his cigar outside, he asked for something to be brought upstairs to ease the swelling of his face. He would normally smoke only in here. Lady Vandenbosch doesn't like the smell of his cigars in the public rooms.
Yep.
Your help and discretion in this matter are greatly appreciated.
Now I know that the Major was not alone. It is time to search the study further in hopes of finding a clue as to who was with him. I see. I see. New mind map. Who's responsible? And obtain the murder weapon. The scene of the crime has been investigated, but it does not show a straightforward series of events. The circumstances around the Major's cigar is one such avenue that requires further exploration. Yes. Yes, the Major's jacket. Yes.
Aha.
Scruffy-looking jacket is hanging upon the coat rack. The Major's scabbard is in the pocket. An ashtray. Reasonably full ashtray. I would have expected him to at least clean this out. A discarded towel, folded and unused.
Huh.
No matches remain in the matchbox. Desk.
Ah.
Rather organized desk containing what looks like important documents. Obviously the blackmail letter. Poker stand.
Huh.
A normal looking poker stand. Nothing appears to be out of the ordinary.
Oh.
Incredibly dirty fireplace. The logs are old and covered in dust. Not been used. The blackmail letter, of course. Is that everything? Desk. Nope, nope. Matchbox, towel, ashtray, jacket. Yes, I believe that is everything. 3 connections in the deck. Let me just quickly breeze over to get all the exclamation points away, because yes, we understand that these are all new. There we go. Well, the missing knife could easily be the murder weapon.
To become clearer.
Major's knife is missing and the body lies with a single stab wound. It could very well be the murder weapon. Let's see. Nice.
Order and method. That it. I cannot see the logic in this. What a revelation!
We expected the Major to keep his belongings in a much tidier fashion. The room was not cleaned. We need to speak to Archibald. Matchbox is empty, half smoked.
Come, my little grey cells. This will not get me any
Yeah, I
clo-
don't think so.
Order and method. I cannot see the logic in this.
Tidy and overturned box.
Some would say a lucky guess.
That's too obvious, though. Crime scene. Okay, yeah, okay, now I see. The crime scene was tampered with.
What a revelation!
There's currently no way to rule out the poker being the murder weapon. So it could either be the poker or his missing knife. But I need to speak to Archibald.
Anything I can do to help, Detective? As I said, Mr. Hagen did not allow the staff in here alone, besides me. He was very clear on that.
Ah.
Have the staff ever given him reason to not trust them?
Yes.
Nothing has ever been brought to my attention, but he was very clear no one was to be in here without his permission.
I suppose it is not unreasonable. I would have thought with his military past he would have kept it immaculate, with not a speck of dust or hair out of place. But the fireplace, for instance, says otherwise.
I haven't seen it lit since he has been with us, even in the colder months. It's been in this state for some time.
Your help and discretion in this matter are greatly appreciated.
We have more? Yes. Unused fireplace.
I should not be surprised by my
And an
own
empty
skills of
matchbox.
deduction.
There are no items that could start a fire or light a cigar. No fire source. How is there a half-smoked cigar? What does it want me to do next? Am I missing something? I have to be missing something then. Ah, burned carpet. I knew I had to have missed something. Severe, such a shame to see a beautifully made carpet ruined. And there's that.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
The Major was smoking recently, unsurprisingly, and dropped his cigar. What could have lit the cigar? Evidence of smoking, but no fire
Things
source.
are beginning to become clearer.
Someone lit it for him. Someone trusted. But who? Which was the killer's entry
Another
into the
success.
room.
I never
Likely.
doubted myself.
Major knew his killer.
I must act on thought and this will not get me any closer to my goal.
Could it possibly be?
I must take a different approach.
Wow, that was...
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
They lit the Major's cigar, but following the brutal act of murder, they took time to clean the scene. They were not in a hurry and could still be in the house. How could they remain so calm? The murder weapon is still a mystery. The killer, whose identity is still to be uncovered, must still reside in the house. Now we talk to Archibald. Let us solve this mystery. New map. Investigate the murder. Another test for the great Detective Poirot. No current connections there. Speak to Archibald.
Anything I can do to help, Detective?
I believe I have collected all necessary information and evidence. I would now like to inspect his adjoining bedroom.
As you wish.
That's true. This is a study, not a bedroom. Clearly, the reason for entering the Major's study was not to make haste with his valuables. What I must understand is if the intent for murder was there. The study's been manipulated following the Major's death, meaning that they had time to return to the scene and attempt to cover the tracks. The perpetrator entered through the bedroom. Perhaps there is something they failed to clean up behind them that can make sense of all this. I should review what clues the study yielded before I continue. Determine who in the house warrants cautious attention. A letter. Another letter addressed to the Major. It appears he had someone looking out for his business concerns. With the workers' strike? Felix. I understand there are a number of business concerns for you in the situation that has arisen within the factories, Monsieur de Silva. But I offer this piece of advice. Step back. Monsieur Becker's efforts with the union have finally opened the workers' eyes, and they seek, nay, demand, fair treatment they deserved for so long. The fuel for the fire has already been laid, and the match is ready to be struck. You do not want to be near those flames when they ignite. I know you were once a good, honorable man. I pray that is still true today. I must review the information I have gathered from each guest today. There may be something that will help reveal the identity of the letter's author. Well, the letter... Yes. Warning about upcoming strikes.
Come, my little gray cells.
I honestly think it has to be Ernesto.
Is there something?
I guess not. The other options that
Is there
Hugo.
something?
Psh, getting in support of the unions, Hugo's positive work is mentioned.
Magnifique.
Yep. The only other union supporter I know that is passionate enough to write such a letter is Monsieur Gideon. Okay. Possible. Nothing around the bed. The plant. It's a plant! Plants lean and rely on each other to survive. Something we as a species could take a lesson from. Probably irrelevant. The window!
Huh.
Fallen slowly to the white blanket. An open drawer? That could be useful. Madame Van der Bosch heart is a trophy worth fighting over. Oof. Major Hagen, I hope you excuse my bluntness in plain speaking, but there is a matter regarding Madame Van der Bosch that requires not only our attention, but a level of understanding and respect between us both. I'm fully aware of the help you have offered to not only Madame, but her family and household. I am also aware that you know of the assistance that I have given to Madame and the Viscount before her. We were friends and business partners, and I felt it my duty to continue to give aid to keep the Van der Bosch name at the standing that it has always been. Having said that, it is not always as simple to keep business and personal matters separate, and this is how I find myself today. Cassandra and I share a bond that one does not experience often in their lifetime. No doubt you have felt similar, but what may be lust to one man is love to another. While I respect you for your efforts in the war and the generosity you have shown Madame, I must request you to step back from what you consider to be your duties at the house and allow for Madame to make her choice. The choice that I believe is obvious to all parties. I trust this correspondence remains for your eyes only, and a gentleman's agreement is enough to guarantee our arrangement. It was a rather bold move to challenge the Major as they have, especially with his position at the house. Well, that is De Silva. Definitely. Mentions of helping the family. Ernesto
I should
supports
not be
the family.
surprised by my own.
There's something between Ernesto and Madame Van der Bosch. Archibald surely knows of it. Giant bear skin right on the ground. Hunting rifle. This could be the weapon that brought down some of the impressive animals that now fill the walls. Mounted animal head. That is a full baboon. Not sure how it would fare coming face to face with such beasts. Another note. A rather threatening letter has been penned addressed to Major F. Hagen. Dear Major F. Hagen, I did not think I would ever find myself writing a letter such as this, but under the current circumstances, I see no other option. Madame Van der Bosch and I have been friends for more years than I care to say. That is why I can no longer sit back and allow your bullying to continue. I am well aware of the companionship you have offered to my good friend over the years. It has been most generous, and without it, I care not to think that what would have happened to her. But it does not give you the opportunity to act in such a foul and boorish manner. The day the Viscount passed, I promised that I would protect both Cassandra and Angeline, and it is a promise I will keep. You were once a major in the British Armed Forces, but your actions have mirrored that of drunken fools who hold no place in our society, let alone Madame's house. Please do not bother yourself with a response. There is not a question that requires an answer, only a hope that you will see your errors and adjust them accordingly. The author speaks of bullying, and although no specifics are noted, any form of that treatment toward a woman is not acceptable. Well, we know exactly who wrote that one. Threatening letter, close to Cassandra.
Things are
Protective.
beginning to become clearer.
She was quick to speak of her protection over Cassandra. She must take this role very seriously. Anything else? A drink globe. Wonder how many travel expeditions have been planned while enjoying the contents of the globe. And now we speak to Archibald once more.
Certainly. What do you need? The male guests, I believe, he knows in a business capacity, but I'm afraid that's all I know. I will add, though, he has not always been the easiest man to get along with.
No, that wasn't perfectly obvious from your tone, Archibald.
You are talking from personal experience of working for him.
I am head butler to the Van den Bosch family in their home. He has made himself comfortable, but to me he still remained a guest. There's not much I couldn't tell you. As soon as he found out my father was in the army, his stories never stopped.
I am sure an officer of his rank must have many a tale.
Oh my gosh, it's a Renku.
A tale is a fitting description. Not so much a pinch of salt, more like a bag is needed listening to them.
What can you tell me about Monsieur de Silva, the Major, and Madame Van de Bosch?
You've lost me, detective.
Liar! Liar!
I struggle to believe they were both helping her out of the kindness of their hearts. Could they have been fighting for the Madame's affection?
It goes well, Mr. Renku. Just solving a wee spot of murder.
That didn't take you long to spot.
No, really? The love triangle wasn't apparently obvious to everybody? Monsieur Sterling's lack of real response gives me all the answer I require.
Your help and discretion in this matter are greatly appreciated.
And now we can go back and make some more We have another deduction. This is Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, the first cases. Let's see. Cassandra has multiple admirers. Love for Cassandra mentioned. Now I know of Ernesto's feelings towards Cassandra. He must be the one behind the letter.
Pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
It seems the guests were not fond of the Major, which anyone with a brainstem could see immediately. It more than just murder mysteries. The reason Hercule was originally brought on was to investigate a blackmail, which then one of the guests during this wedding dinner party was murdered, and so now you're investigating the murder and finding that it is wrapped in with the blackmail, and it's based off of one of Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot novels from his early life, as opposed to when we actually meet him later on when he's in Britain. Yep. Hercule Poirot, the second most famous fictional detective in Europe, after, of course, the great Sherlock Holmes. Different time period, though. Sherlock Holmes was pre-World War I, old Britain. Hercule is in the period between World Wars I and II. Let's see. I have a new connection. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's an entire series of books for the majority of Hercule Poirot's life as he solved mysteries and murders all the way up until he actually passed away. Like, she ended the story by killing him and then having someone else solve his last case. Or resolve, technically. Let's see. Major fabricated his accomplishments. I don't see that connecting to anything currently. The Major is generally disliked. Multiple guests threatened the Major. killer must be somewhere still in the building. That's what it is.
I would say a moment of genius.
Don't you mean your Kofefe? It's highly possible one of the guests is behind this murder. This warrants immediate investigation. Based on the evidence seen in the major study and bedroom, as well as what I've learned from speaking with the guests, Monsieur de Silva, Comtesse de Vos, and Monsieur de Mur warrant concern and further investigation. So now we have our 3 suspects. Now we speak to Archibald to shift to the next room. There is nothing further for me to investigate in here. Would you kindly gather the guests for me?
As you wish, Detective.
It seems there is no simple explanation for what happened here. The Major's popularity amongst the guests does not seem very high. There are still many questions that must be asked. Chapter 4! The interrogations.
The guests are waiting for you, Detective. I informed them of what has happened, but divulged no details.
There goes my opportunity to catch one of them off guard. No matter, I have more weapon in my armory. Every time I see the U shoved into one of these words, it makes me laugh.
I am most grateful. Madame Vandenbosch is here also?
She's in her room with Miss Angeline. It may be better to speak with them privately tomorrow.
Oui, merci. I shall come find you again once my questioning is complete.
Speaking to Madame Vandenbosch is the absolute last thing on my to-do list. The guests' alibis are my priority. Once I can confirm their whereabouts this evening, I can understand who had an opportunity. Interrogate the guests and confirm their alibis. I have my lead suspects from the evidence at the scene of the crime. Perhaps those will change after speaking with them all. Literally everyone. Did that include Archibald? Right there. It did. Nope, he is right there. So we will begin.
There are still some...
Okay, I cannot talk to him then. Fine. Well, we'll just start with straight left to right, then. We will begin with you, Zakira.
I'm afraid our conversation is of a more formal nature this time.
So the Major was murdered?
It appears so.
You can't think that I did it, though.
I will be questioning everyone over the course of the evening, and your cooperation will certainly speed up that process.
I was
Besides
here
speaking
in
with...
the salon, minding my own business, enjoying my own company.
Getting wasted.
Minding your business from whom?
Comtesse, what's her name, and my brother. Apart from wanting to congratulate him for a great right hook, there was nothing I had to say to him.
Comtesse de Vos? And they will both confirm you were here?
If she had taken a moment to notice anything besides herself, she will tell you I was here.
It is very sim-like in the artwork, and yet different when you actually look at the panels. I do like it has a certain level of charm, I will say. So he claims that he was here in the lounge. Hugo,
Bonsoir,
where have you
Monsieur
been?
Beckers. Merci for speaking with me.
Monsieur Poirot, or should it be Detective Poirot now?
Detective Poirot is perfect, merci. I would like to begin with a few questions.
Go right ahead, Detective Poirot.
Where were you prior
I
to
took
dinner?
great pleasure in seeing the Major's ego as well as his face take a bruising. And then I made my way to the library.
Well, you spoke with Mademoiselle Conrad.
And yourself? Yes.
We were the only two that you spoke with.
One of the servants bought me a drink, and I was telling her about the benefits of joining a union. She didn't understand what it truly meant to be a part of something. Something bigger than just her. I was trying to explain to her how...
Monsieur.
Don't need that.
Oh, yes, it was just the two of you, and the servant.
Strange that he does not seem to recall seeing Monsieur de Silva in the library.
And you are sure there was no one else present?
I'm not sure what you're getting at, detective. You were there.
He's also hiding.
Merci, Monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation.
But as far as we know, he has no motive. Monsieur de Silva.
Monsieur de Silva, merci for obliging me.
A detective comes to a party and a dead body shows up. Coincidental, don't you think?
A man's death is not a matter to joke on, monsieur.
Yes, it is. Carry on.
Who said anything about a joke? I am saying what I see.
Then perhaps you can tell me what it was you saw this evening.
Where were you prejudiced?
Following whatever that was in the hall, I moved to the library.
Is there anyone that can confirm that?
Miss Conrad and Beckers were in there, arguing about something.
Beckers did
the
not
books held my
see
interest far more than their conversation.
You did not speak with them until dinner was served?
I had no reason to get involved with their little spat.
Heh.
It was clear they didn't want me to hear, and that suited me just fine.
Merci for your cooperation.
Gideon.
Monsieur Demir, I am sorry your celebrations have taken a rather dark turn.
As am I, Detective. I hope we will be able to bring this investigation to an end post-haste.
I like him. I like
With your
Gideon,
cooperation,
but I really
will
hope
do
he
my
does
very
not turn
best.
out to be the guilty party. Besides your time in the hall, where were you before we were summoned to the dining room?
I was here in the salon. I thought I would have a moment of peace to calm myself, but the Comtesse and my brother followed behind.
Did they inquire into the reasons behind the fight in the hall?
I think they both saw it as some light entertainment, more than anything else.
The Comtesse does not strike me as one to enjoy violence.
Alas, this is not one of those kind of quintessential ones. Agatha Christie liked to look into the darker aspect of the aristocracy in Britain and Europe, so it is much more likely it was one of the guests. And more likely it was one of the guests of a higher class than the average person. She was very progressive in that way of thinking, of trying to jab and poke at the upper crust as much as possible and show that they were just as capable of dark and misdeeds, or if not even more so than the common person.
And not so much violence, but karma for the Major, perhaps. You did not hear how he spoke to my wife-to-be. She is still rather upset about the whole thing.
So he says he was in the salon, which is
If you
this
would be
room.
so kind as to stay here,
But
I
he
may
was
require
not
your
here
help
when
further.
we came and spoke to the other guests.
Comtesse, I am sorry our next conversation must be under such formal circumstances.
It is not the first time Felix has ruined a good party.
Ouch. Even after the man's dead, you still have to smack him.
The current state of tonight's celebrations is the least of my priorities, Comtesse.
Well, it's at the top of mine, Detective. I did not come here for a wake.
Perhaps then we should proceed with my questions and you can get back to celebrating.
It would be my pleasure, chérie.
She has motive because she is close friends with the with Madame de Vandenbosch, whom the Major was staying with in the house and was apparently bullying and trying to control the goings-on of her house. And the Comtesse here actually sent him a threatening letter telling him to stop it, or she would act. She didn't say that she would act, but she said that she would be protecting her friend at all costs. Yeah. We had already collected evidence from his room and his study, so we know that the Comtesse, Monsieur de Silva, and the man at the far end sitting, they are our 3 prime suspects because they all have motive.
I did. I thought by staying in one place, it would be easy for the staff to bring me my drinks. How wrong I was.
And who else was present in here?
The handsome groom-to-be and his brother, although Zachariah, is it, made a rather sharp exit at one stage.
That is an interesting detail that has been left out in all previous accounts.
Did he say where he was going?
He barely said 2 words to either of us. I think he was more concerned with his drink.
Another to notice Monsieur Demier's drinking, and yet no one seems concerned.
Merci, Comtesse. If I have any further questions, I shall be sure to come and find you.
And finally, Jackie.
Mademoiselle Conrad, I am sure you understand
The American.
delicate nature of the situation.
Just listen to how the British perceive the American accent.
I knew I had seen your face before. You were just an officer when that story hit the paper.
Do you hear the difference?
You have a très bon memory, mademoiselle. That was a long time ago.
Belgian, French-ish accent.
You can't escape the past, especially when you go and do something like that.
American.
That is very true, but one can learn from it and create a better future.
What would you say to an
Please, mademoiselle. Catching the Major's killer is my sole concern right now. Now, if you would be so kind, I have some questions for you.
Tell me about your evening since your arrival.
I arrived, unpacked my bags in my room, and made it downstairs just in time to see the Major take a right hook from Gideon. And then I went to check out the library.
I also point out that you can tell she's American because she's the only woman wearing pants. Women in Europe during this time period did not wear pants. Women in America did.
And you were joined by Monsieur Beckers.
She's also more working class and less aristocracy. Because she's a reporter.
And Ernesto, or Monsieur de Silver, as you say. But after he ignored my attempt at pleasantries, I left him to his book in the corner.
Okay, so she saw him in the room, which eliminates his opportunity.
And your conversation with Monsieur Beckers that I interrupted.
You are a persistent one, aren't you? Makes sense now I know who you really are. You'll just have to wait and read about it in the paper like everyone else.
Mademoiselle Conrad still remains tight-lipped about her discussion with Monsieur Beckers, but a hint at reading about it in the newspaper makes me believe that it must be of a much grander nature than I expected.
You have been most helpful.
Hello,
do
mortal.
not go too far. Merci.
Alright, now that I have interviewed every person, we shall now consult our 6 different links that we get to make in the interrogations. So many things that are going to link to other people. Ooh, my goodness. My goodness. Hugo and Jackie were talking.
Another success.
Hugo and Jackie confirm each other's appearance in the library.
What a revelation.
They confirm each other's appearance at the library, that Monsieur Jackie and Ernesto confirmed each other being there. Let's see.
The pieces of the puzzle are
Gideon
finally coming
and
together.
the Comtesse saw each other.
This will not get me any closer to my goal.
That. To that.
What a revelation.
They confirm each other's appearance in the salon. However,
I must act on thought.
that was not it. This to this.
I must take a different approach if I...
Really? Because I would say this is the major clue that he went missing. There's still 2, however. Then there's also the fact that we did not see Gideon in the salon, which is interesting. There's still 2 more connections, but I'm not quite seeing it.
Come, my little Grey Cells.
Yeah, that was that was legitimately my second
Another
thought.
success.
The Comtesse claims Zakira stepped out of the room, but Gideon did not mention it. Was his missing time accounted for? Which means we need to interrogate Zakaria further. Additionally, if it's that and that...
Things are beginning
There we
to
go.
become clearer.
Hugo failed to mention seeing Ernesto at the library, which means we need to talk to Hugo again. So now we need to confirm some details with these 2. I'll start with Hugo.
Whatever you require, detective. I know you are probably used to dealing with criminals, but not everyone is trying to hide something.
Everyone hides things. Everyone lies.
I hope for your sake that you do not hide anything from me.
What is it you think I'm hiding?
I struggle to believe you did not know of Monsieur da Silva's presence in the library.
Is that what this is about? I saw him hiding in the corner, pretending to read. I'd be surprised if he even could. I did not speak to him, and he certainly didn't
Rude.
make any attempt to speak with me.
Monsieur Demir invited you here to speak with him. You didn't see that as a fitting time too?
I was speaking with Jacqueline, and quite frankly, I was in no mood to be dealing with that man.
Ah, animosity there. And Monsieur Beckers is courageous and full of vigor in his planning, but his execution does not share such confidence.
Merci, Monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation.
Let's see. We do have another new connection. We saw him briefly.
Order and method.
Nope.
That is the way to solve the problem.
Let's see.
Some would say
There
a
we
lucky
go.
guess.
Hugo and Ernesto confirm each other's appearances in the
I should
library.
not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Hugo, Ernesto, and Jackie support each other's version of events. Someone else must be responsible. So these 3 are... They have no opportunity for the murder, as I suspected. Which leaves, of our prime suspects, Zakaria and the Comtesse. I cannot pronounce that name. I have no idea what to do with the... I think the X is silent, so it should be Margot or something. But, you know, I will continue to call her the Comtesse because no one has said her name. Anyway, last thing we need to do is press Zakaria for a little more
I'm an open
information.
book, Poirot. I told you already. I was here in the salon.
And you did not leave even once.
Well, I had to use the bathroom. I didn't realize I had to update you every time nature called.
You may keep your calls of nature to yourself, merci. And then you returned to the salon?
If you don't believe me, ask Archibald. He saw me on his way up to the study.
Ah.
I think that is all for now.
That is something. His way up to the study.
Can you confirm seeing Monsieur Demir in the hall this evening?
Zachariah, yes. I was on my way with a bottle of whiskey to the Major. He shouted a rather ignorable greeting to me and asked for directions to the bathroom.
I presume you showed him the way?
Aye, detective.
There was
I
no
showed him
whiskey
to the hall
in
bathroom.
the study.
I didn't think it was wise to attempt the stairs, not in that state.
The reason we don't suspect the butler is because he was there present throughout the entire time. We were able to keep tabs on him because we had seen him throughout the entire procession prior to dinner. So absence is covered by
I
Archibald.
don't see the logic in this.
Oh, that one goes there.
Magnifique.
Archibald confirms Zakira's movements out of the salon, however brief.
Another success. I never doubted myself.
Gideon, Zechariah, and Comtesse were all in the salon, at least for some time together. Surely someone else is to blame. Even with some minute differences in stories, the guests all confirm each other's alibis. It is not the outcome I was expecting or perhaps hoping for. However, there are still other possibilities. Continue your interrogations to determine likely motives. That did not yield the result desired. Perhaps a more direct approach considering their motives will reveal more. Because it has to be one of these 6. And now we start again. But this time we will go to the other side. And work the other way. From least likely motive to more, to more, to more, all the way across.
What do you need? I know that he was not the good and honest man he liked to think he was.
In what sense?
If you spoke to him for longer than 5 minutes, you'd know. I've met people in dark alleys I trust before him.
It's true. It's true.
And on the occasions when you did speak with him, what was discussed?
I'm sorry, Poirot. If you're looking for a deep-seated secret between me and him, you're going to be disappointed.
Mademoiselle Conrad is wise to the nature of this question. She knows exactly what and what not to say. This nut may be harder to crack than first expected.
That man has got some real anger issues.
Understatement.
I get why he's frustrated. He's trying his best for the workers, but holding on to rage like that, something's gonna burst.
A man suppressing his anger and a murdered body. The most amateur detective could see a connection.
You have been most helpful. I request you do not go too far. Merci.
Next.
I am all yours, detective. Why would I actively choose to speak to that wretched man?
You were quite adamant of your protection of Madame. If he was as awful as you portrayed him to be, there must have been some words spoken, or
trying to get her to admit to the letter.
He was quite aware of how I felt towards him, and the lengths he has gone to remain close to the family. That is all that needs to be said.
I must admit, I would not want to be on the receiving end of your tongue's wrath, Countess.
Wise thinking, detective. He was a disgusting leech that was driven only by money and power, like most men.
I can assure you not all men are concerned with such egotistical wealth.
That may be, but they are few and far between. I believe
Among the aristocracy. Because you remember, she is a countess. The circles she moves in do not include the majority of people. So she is only referring to among the upper crust, men are like this. Very easy point to construe in modern times where that kind of separation of classes of people doesn't well, it exists, but it's not as obvious anymore.
It is not the first time I have been described in such a way.
Embrace the compliment, detective. You have set yourself apart from the horrid crétins that seem to somehow make
their way into positions of power and authority, which cue in exactly the kind of people she's talking about.
And that is what the Major was doing? Using Madame van den Bosch as his ladder to the top?
You are finally seeing the man he was. A weak and self-indulgent social climber.
The Comtesse has certainly opened my eyes to the Major's true ambitions with the Van den Bosch family. I wonder if Madame herself is aware of his greed and hunger for social recognition.
I imagine she will have shed a tear for him, but she should not waste any more.
Yeah.
You don't think she would? Or you don't want her to?
I have made it quite clear what I think of that man, alive or dead. I would not want her to waste anything further on him.
I don't know who has the sharper tongue, Madame van den Bosch or the Comtesse. It is certainly a close race for first place.
Merci, Comtesse.
Just the
If I have
Comtesse
any
is a lot
further
more
questions,
approachable.
I shall be sure to come and find you.
And now Gideon?
No trouble at all. How can I help?
With the joining of your two families and the Major being around so much, I assume you knew him well.
I knew of him more than actually knowing him myself. In the past, he made his feelings towards my brother and I quite clear.
Ah, so they were already aware.
And that was not in a positive way.
I certainly wouldn't call trying to get Angeline to postpone the engagement positive.
Merely postpone?
What do you mean?
I do not mean to pry, only I imagine the whole room was aware of his celebrating with a bottle.
You must be mistaken. Neither my brother nor I drink.
Curious. That is a key piece of evidence right there. I do not know how he could not have noticed the state his brother was in. Perhaps one does not see what one does not want to believe, or one could be an actor.
We aren't the closest, but what brothers are?
I would argue that many are.
We've lived very different lives. Our priorities are different. He does not see things the way I do. There isn't much more to say.
Doesn't wish to talk to his brother. There is clearly more to uncover here. I shall return to the matter when I have the fuel that is required to get the answer.
I have lent my voice to some discussions. I have tried to facilitate meetings. Just positive support.
Does that positive support include sending letters to those on the opposing side?
Detective Poirot, I'm not sure what you think I have done.
Monsieur, a letter has been found threatening the Major of what might happen if he does not act promptly, and now he has wound up dead.
You think my sending him a letter, warning him not to get involved, means I murdered him?
So he admitted to writing the letter.
At this time, it is certainly reason for me to be suspicious.
I have been funding the strikes, Detective. These men deserve fair treatment, and a wage that fits the hard work they undertake every single day. The Major didn't see that. All he cared about was the money for his services, and that is all I care to discuss.
It appears Monsieur's letter was at least written with noble intentions, but he is still hesitant to talk more on the Major's association.
If you would be so kind as to stay here, I may require your help further.
Back to Mr. De Silva.
More questions? I suppose so. Felix, I didn't know him that
First
well.
name basis.
We spoke a handful of times. I met him through Cassandra.
First name
I
basis.
thought him to be rather pompous.
But you remained polite, as any gentleman would.
Of course.
The negative opinion of the Major is rather ubiquitous, universal. I am yet to meet someone with a particularly positive view of him.
He had approached me about doing some business together. I like to know who I'm getting into bed with first.
not sexual, time period. That was purely a business phrase at this time.
And you both went ahead with your business venture.
Not so much a business venture, more security related. But there is no need to discuss that any further.
Is there something you wish to remain hidden about your partnership, monsieur?
It was far from a partnership. I hired him to run security at my factories. If the workers were going to get violent, I wanted to make sure I was ready to protect my property.
Makes sense, makes sense. Using a brute as a brute. Hello, Josue.
That is correct.
And the reason for your support was always of a purely platonic nature.
If you're trying to insinuate that I was expecting something in return, you can remove your head from the matter.
I meant no offense. I am only trying to understand the dynamic of your relationship.
I may need to approach this in a different manner. Perhaps I should speak with the Comtesse on this.
What is there to say? She's a remarkable woman, and I admire her. Even after Edwin's death, she held herself with such poise.
It sounds as though you hold her in the highest regard.
And why shouldn't I? Women these days could take a leaf out of her book on how to present themselves.
As vile, cruel, sinister harpies.
Merci for your cooperation.
Since it's here, I will double back to the Comtesse just to fill that one
I am all
section
yours, detective.
before pressing forward.
What of it?
Do you believe there was something more to their friendship?
As I have said, detective, I am not one to gossip.
Liar!
I would not even consider your name and that word in the same sentence.
Ah! Calling it out without calling it out.
Because it is not gossip when it's the truth.
As expected. I'm not sure that is exactly correct, but the Comtesse has made a bold attempt to justify her wagging tongue.
Why else do you think he would stay around for so long? Yes, he was a friend and partner to the Viscount, but it is plain to see it is Cassandra's partnership he longs for.
Merci, Comtesse. If I have any further questions, I shall be sure to come and find you.
Moving on. Over to Hugo.
Whatever you require, Detective. I know that I don't think, or didn't think, a great deal of him. I'm just sorry I didn't get the chance to tell him what I thought.
That he was an unwelcome brute?
Recently been murdered.
Someone must stand up to men like him, with their crooked dealings and lack of, well, any compassion at all.
Another rousing speech, monsieur.
It's the truth. If you knew what I know, maybe he wouldn't be dead, but behind bars instead. Yes, Gideon invited me. If you will recall from our previous conversation, we have been working together and he thought now would be a good time to discuss matters.
To discuss business at the celebration of his engagement?
We're all here, so what better time? He thought Da Silva might even let his guard down if he was in a more jubilant mood. It would be wise to not continue to ignore us any longer.
And what business was it that was so urgent?
We're trying to resolve the worker strikes. It has gone on long enough. Now is the time for him to listen to our demands so we can put an end to it all. Put the violence and upset behind us.
Why on earth would there have to have been violence in the first place? You seem to hold a certain level of, shall we say, anger toward the Major.
Anger, yes, but that's all. I wouldn't kill a man.
You must see why this leads me to have suspicions.
You can't honestly think I did it. I am a man of peace. I make changes with words, not with violence.
Words lead to action. Action leads to violence. I barely mentioned the Major, and Monsieur Beckers became rather flustered and defensive.
I am fighting for the basic rights of our workers, nothing more. If he can't see that, he is a lesser man than I already thought.
Superiority. And this is why union workers have always, throughout history, been compared to communists. Because that's the very similar mindsets between the two.
And where does Monsieur Gédéon fit into the negotiations? And his brother?
Especially in this time period, they were considered almost one and the same. Because the Soviet Union was on the rise just to the northeast of Europe. It was a major power and a major frightening threat. The Soviet Union had just begun. They had just murdered an entire royal line. That was huge news for everyone. And then in a massive world war, it was scary, scary times politically and just...
His brother? I didn't even know he had a brother until I arrived here. Gideon certainly hasn't talked much about him. I get the sense there's not much love lost between them.
They were not close.
Last I saw, he was outside having a cigar.
Oui, I spoke with him myself, but that was some time ago.
When did he see him outside if he was up in the library?
He does love a cigar. You'd have to stand out in those conditions. I could barely see him through the snow.
How could you see him through the snow if you were in the library?
Merci, Monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation.
Just double checking. There's no one with exclamation points left aside from Zachariah.
I'm an open book, Poirot. Why would I? I've got nothing to say to him. Except maybe to keep his hands off what is ours.
What is yours that he could want?
Money, of course. Why do you think he has been suckling at the Van den Bosch teat for so long? He's bled them dry, and now they will all do the same to our money.
Our?
My father's, Gideon's, it's all the same. When you have not been on level playing fields for years, it's hard to have a fair game.
I am afraid I do not quite understand.
If we're playing golf, he has a full set of clubs and a caddy in the form of my father, and I have the old split putter. Make sense now?
Perfectly.
There is certainly some hostility towards his brothers. This runs much deeper than brotherly rivalry.
That doesn't surprise me, and yet no one actually asks.
I am asking now.
I should have expected that, shouldn't I?
The face.
What is there to say? We used to be close, but not so much anymore.
I would find it very helpful if you could at least elaborate on your relationship.
He went to school, got an education, and was the apple of our father's eye. I went to war. See the difference now?
Monsieur has again mentioned his time in the war. While I do not mean to belittle his efforts for his country, it seems as though he has not been able to leave that life behind on the battlefield, which was a very common problem after the First World War. It was, according to what was written about it, it was the most terrible, it was the greatest and most terrible war waged up to that point, hence its name is the World War. But there has been more loss of life in that war than the majority of wars prior or since.
If you want to know about Gideon's part in the Union, why don't you ask him?
So, you are aware of his support for them?
Yes, well, he...
Oui, monsieur?
It'd be best to just ask him.
He either does not know much, or he is protecting.
I think that is all for now. Merci for your time.
That is everybody. So now, once again, we dive into the little grey cells. Oh, we need to speak to Jackie and Gideon again to confirm some details. Fine, we will do so.
You came to the right place. What do you need?
You seem to know a great deal about everyone. Can you tell me? Ah, okay. I wanted me to talk to both.
If you think you can use me as some sort of gossip machine, you are sorely mistaken.
I can assure you it is not a case of gossiping. At this point, everything may be relevant to my investigation.
So I would be helping you potentially solve a crime? You should have said that off the bat. To say he's smitten is an understatement. I reckon he's been wanting her for years.
I see. Madame does not feel the same?
Doesn't look like it. If she did, she would have said something about it, right?
Knowing her, probably.
I don't know if you really would. She's got a mouth the size of Texas, except...
Ha! I knew it! American! She referenced Texas.
She wants everyone to think that she's the savior of these girls at the shelter. But there's a side to her I don't think anyone gets to see.
And what side is that?
One that she is keeping tucked away under her very expensive dress.
I can only see the work at a woman's shelter as positive, even if the reason to start came from a selfish place. The work they do cannot be scoffed at.
You have been most helpful.
And we've heard that departure farewell many times.
No trouble.
I'm going to
at
start
all.
skipping the departure and chat things.
I believe there are more important matters at hand than talking about my brother and I's relationship, or lack thereof.
The murderer is in his house, and by holding back information that may help my investigation, you only make me suspicious of your involvement.
Oof.
Monsieur Demir, if you continue to withhold information, I can only assume you are hiding something, and must treat you as a prime suspect in the Major's murder.
I have nothing to hide. If you must know, we have not been on the best terms for years now. As I said, we are different people.
Which they both agree on.
He does not see the importance of planning for the future, and as much as my parents tried, we could not make him see that. I suppose that is why he sees me as their favorite.
He still believes that now?
I assume so. We barely talk anymore. I was hoping we would be able to sit down and talk and leave the past behind. But this evening has not panned out that way.
Duh.
If you would be so kind as to stay here.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Talk to the Countess. I'm making sure to have all the conversation pieces done and then do all the connections all together.
Countess, you gave me the impression the Major and the Madame were close, but there were times where he acted rather aggressively to her, n'est-ce pas?
I am sorry, Detective, but I did not mean to give you such an impression.
I've already built a rapport with Countess. She may even say a flirtatious manner. Perhaps if I continue to charm her, she will reveal the information I require.
Ever the charmer, Detective. I would talk more on it, but I'm afraid Cassandra would think I am talking about her behind her back.
Which she basically would be. Something more to say, but she still holds back. Something tells me it has more to do with receiving attention. Perhaps I can use that to my advantage.
It is not often I am swayed so easily.
Ah!
I applaud you on your willingness and persistence. From day one, I was wary of his intentions. And it was not long before he showed his true colors. If it is a tear she sheds, it should be one of joy that he is out of her life.
I understand your feelings towards the Major, but perhaps there was...
He was a bully. He took his shortcomings out on her, and she sat there and accepted it. I never thought
I cannot
I'd
imagine
see
seeing her do it. Seeing her accept the anger of anyone.
Perhaps now she will be able to see the man he truly
Achievement
was.
unlocked. Comtesse
Karma
Marguerite
will
de Vos.
always catch up to you.
Merci, Countess. If I have any...
Anything else? No, I have spoken to everyone, and now I have 4 connections to make. That's a lot of stuff. Let's get rid of all these annoying little exclamation marks that make everything... There we go. Okay.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Brothers are suspicious individually, but I cannot see them working together. Let's see. Actions. Yep, that is
Some
confirmed.
would say a lucky guess.
Hidden his secret love well, we can use this to our advantage. So we can now speak to Ernesto.
The
He
pieces
has
of the
not.
puzzle
He's
are
most
finer-
certainly not come down. Lied about his temper. And he has
I
dirt.
cannot see the logic in this.
Let's see. There's one more somewhere.
This will not get me any
I
closer.
don't think so. Let's see. There's dirt on the major. These connections. Well, this seems like an easy one,
Come,
but
my
it's
little
not.
Graceless.
Presents. Okay,
What a revelation.
because that's a conflict. He claims not to be close to his brother, but still seeks to withhold information. Okay, so now the last linchpin we have is to press Ernesto de Silva about his affection for
No
Madame
questions,
Vanderbush.
I suppose so.
Mademoiselle Conrad was quick to talk of your hidden feelings towards her. Perhaps only hidden to Madame Vandenbosch herself.
What has this got to do with the Major's death? Does Cassandra know you have spoken to others about this? I have only tried to help her. There may be some feelings there, but Madame Vandenbosch does not know of them, and I trust that it will remain that way.
Merci for your cooperation.
There we go. And that is wiser kept myself, but I do not expect so many like-minded thinkers. I should think further on what I have heard in my quarters. Objective complete. We now have a complete picture of everyone and their opportunities and motives.
My time with the guests is complete.
Do you know who killed Major Hagen?
I am afraid it is not as simple as that. There are many steps that lead to the truth. I must think on everything I have heard this evening and dissect the truths from the lies. Merci for your assistance this evening. Au revoir.
I came here expecting to solve a case of blackmail, to relieve a family of a burden that had weighed upon them and overshadowed a joyous celebration. And now we deal with murder. I've never been to an engagement celebration where death has taken center stage before. Although the guests' alibis confirm each other's, I still cannot rule out the possibility of one of them being involved in the Major's death. The relationship between some of the guests and the Major were more than rocky. Dislike towards him was plentiful. But is it enough to drive someone to murder? This is now the perfect opportunity to think about everything I have heard today. New map. Recent conclusion. I have all the information I need. I must now compile it together and find the most probable culprit. 5 connections. Let's see.
Is there something I am not seeing?
Nope. Let's see. That
Things are
definitely.
beginning to become...
The letter she sent protecting Cassandra was threatening indeed, and Jackie seems unable to determine her secret.
Magnifique.
When I first overheard the conversation, it seemed Hugo was trying to get Jackie to listen. Jackie is pushing for dirt on the Major. These...
Things are beginning to...
Gideon's history with the Major combined with threats to his well-being definitely show intent.
I must act on thought.
Nope.
Magnifique.
Blinded by both love and greed, he may have struck down his opposition.
I must take a different approach if
Wrong side. There is only one connection left. Stain. Pushing for dirt on the Major.
Order and method. That is the way.
Nope.
I must act on thought and... This will not get me any closer to...
And now it should just... Yep. Okay, that...
Some would say a lucky guess.
All the guests have at least one other guest to confirm their alibis. Who could that be at this time of night?
Entrez.
Detective,
Angeline.
I'm sorry I did not join you in the salon as requested.
Please, mademoiselle. There is no need to apologize.
I was with Maman in her room. She would not allow anyone to see it, but I could see she was terribly upset.
Most understandable.
Meaning that she had feelings for the Major.
Do you have any suspicions as to who could have killed him?
I'm afraid my suspicions extended across all of the party's guests. While it seems as though their alibis all corroborate one another's, the disdain and hostility towards the Major makes them rife with motive.
I know there was some bad blood between the Major and some of the guests, but not enough to kill him, surely. She may seem tough on the exterior, but she's really quite kind when you get to know her.
The Countess? She is a formidable force I would not want to come up against.
Don't be silly, detective. She wouldn't hurt a soul. Jacqueline, I mean.
She was in fact the least suspicious.
I assume that's who you were talking about, Detective, after what happened between them.
That is a story I have yet to hear.
Aha!
She must have told you about the piece she was writing on us, about Gideon's work and our marriage.
Somehow, that was the only thing she did not mention.
That's strange. I thought that is what she would have started the conversation with. Well, she had come to the house to interview me, and when I entered the library, she was there with Felix amid a rather heated conversation.
Do you know what this conversation regarded?
I'm afraid not, but Felix was quite enraged. He picked up an envelope from the table and stormed out, slamming the door behind him.
And Mademoiselle Conrad?
She was equally heated in the moment. She had a few choice words for him that I wouldn't care to repeat. Better, thank you, Detective. She's resting in her room. It is the best place for her.
Out of the way.
And you, mademoiselle?
I'm not quite sure. It is a rather surreal feeling. I did not think I would miss him like I do.
It is understandable. He has been a close friend.
She is the only one that has shown actual care for his disappearance from their lives.
And to me, Detective, we had grown close. After Father's passing, he was always there for me. And now, he's gone as well.
Okay. I'm probably not going to go for too much longer, Renku. It's almost the 3-hour mark.
You must try and not think on it like that.
It is easier said than done, Detective.
I have no doubt, but you can be assured the culprit will not remain at large for long. You have my word.
I'm
If you were
sorry,
in my
but
position,
I just
who would
can't
you think?
imagine any of them committing such a heinous crime.
It can often be hard to look past one's personal feelings for someone and see their flaws.
It's not that, Detective. It's just they have known each other for years. Why would any of them act now?
I was under the impression the Major had merely a business relationship with some of the guests.
That's true, but those invited know each other, some of them for years. They may not seem like it, but some are even friends. I should return to my room now, Detective. It has been a trying day for us all.
Oui, mademoiselle. I am afraid tomorrow may bear a resemblance, but I will not stop until I have found his killer.
I am certainly glad you are here, Detective.
When and where a detective is required, that is where I shall be. Bonne nuit, mademoiselle.
Ooh. So this left me with an interesting thought, one I had not considered until now. Well, at first glance, the guests do not appear to show much fondness for each other. Mademoiselle is quite sure that is not the case. Perhaps I must consider looking at the guests together and not individually.
Come, my little grey cells. What a revelation! The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I have all the motives from the guests. Who is under suspicion?
Order and method.
Nope. What I need is this to hear.
Another success.
I do not know who I can trust and whose stories I can believe. Are the guests innocent? All the guests are suspects?
I should
Guests
not
have
be
known each
surprised
other
by
for
my own
years.
skills of deduction.
I now doubt how trustworthy their stories may be. They may well be covering for each other. There is no physical way one of the guests could have killed the Major and returned to the party. Unless that is where I'm mistaken, it is not one guilty party that I should be looking for, rather, multiple. Okay, I've not considered that the Major's death was part of a plot created and executed by more than one of the guests. came almost as an epiphany following Mademoiselle Angeline's remark about the guest's shared past. Perhaps Mademoiselle will become the trusted ally that I now sense may be essential for catching the guilty parties. Tonight's questioning was only the beginning. I will allow my suspects to sleep on their stories, and we will see how they fare tomorrow. Perhaps one of those involved will have morals enough to show a glimmer of regret. Considering this, they may be working together, I cannot be sure who has told the truth and who has attempted to sell me down the Fleuve, which is a river. Sell me down the river. Perhaps I should sleep on the matter. A good night's sleep will surely bring a new dawn of thinking. And what a better setting to do so in the peaceful falling blanket of snow that surrounds us all. Although, it seems not everyone has the same idea. Someone walking out in the snow. It looks like a man's gait and appearance. However, it was someone in pants, so it could also have been Jackie. Chapter 5. The Secret. A restless sleep combined with the image of the eerie figure in the snow has only convoluted what my little gray cells must consider. I should not have expected this to be a simple case. I have been lied to by at least one of the guests. Their alibis all confirm each other's, but I know this not to be true. New mind map. Investigate the Major's involvement with the blackmail. How the Major is involved with the blackmail eludes me for now. Once I have confirmed whether he was the author or recipient, I can consider my next step. I can consider my next step in my investigation. I would have said the next step in my investigation. My twice in the same sense. No links currently. Must interrogate. What does it want me to do here? There's nothing. But yes, we have an entirely new chapter. People to speak with, information to gain once more. However, we are at the 3-hour mark, and the morning has now officially begun. So we will consider this a successful stream and proceed with our investigation next week.